good morning indeed. It is the 21st of September, a beautiful Thursday morning. Welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Once again, it'll be we'll see Fiso Waganumala. I'm not alone. How are you, Tommy?
I'm good. I'm going to
I'm doing all right. I'm concerned a little bit. Boss Bonnie, let's see.
Ngisibonile koshikashisa namuhla ekseni.
Low black, you're intentional. No, it's not a problem for me. You're looking lovely. We're going to have a great show once again this morning. Still tracking, of course, the biggest developments, the United Nations General Assembly. We know that His Majesty King Eswatini III is there as well. Should be getting his address this morning, breaking it for the first time for Babugedi Besi Deshi Samsagato Eswatini TV. So stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, all right. Good morning and welcome to the show. It's only 7 days left to the secondary elections on the 29th of September. A special voting in 26th September. And of course, Eswatini TV will be bringing you live so do stay with us 26th and 29th September.
The excitement is already very high.
Not as excited as
the conversation right now is the special voting that is happening on the 26th of September, just 3 days before the official secondary elections. Special voting, we know that it's for the people who are essential workers, security officers, but netiboshwa, because they are still very much citizens of the country. So the special voting will be happening on the 26th of September. How many days from now? 2 days? Sorry,
it's
5
next
days.
Week Tuesday. Next week Tuesday, special voting is. Yeah. All right. Mbugeli on the show today, sitabe sikhulumisana ne NGO inhlangano ke lena lengekho ngaphansi kwaHulumende lebitwa ngokuthi siphilile Maternal and Child Health Organization. It's a government organization. Lebonje donatinza ba maternal health bona siqiniseko sokuthi make nemfana baphephile mhlambe nakasabeleka umfana sibabuke nje indzawo letimbalwa esifundzeni sakamanzini kuphela tindzawo leti fire cards lutse ekwaluseni naletinye tindzawo kahle kahle nje objectives our organization is to promote parent child communication involving interventions for attachment and bonding between child and caregiver, also to promote male positive role models and male involvement in maternal and child health. Laba is to create awareness on early childhood care and development. Sitabe sikhulumisana na communications officer la Kemyeni kuva nje ukuthi kabe vele mhlambe nabasokumisa lena organization bababone tiphi tikala ngoba sitawukhumula ukuthi inhlangano lena liyasukunyiswa ngeminyaka wa 2012. Sitabe sikhulumisana nabo nga 7.
Yeah, kanzike nga 6:30 we will indeed have the King's speech at the 78th United Nations General Assembly. He has addressed bona baholi bemave laba hlanganyele khona enhlokodolobha eNew York ofisini ngelelikhulu la United Nations kuva nje ukuthi live la kangwane selihambe kangakanani in attaining the United Nations sustainable developmental goals, ambitions and aspirations mgomo ke lebuke umnyaka wa 2030. But we will hear directly from Sona Silo Semhlaba ekutheni live la kangwane selihambe kangakanani ukuthi nje ngumaphi measures lamanye lelitawathatha lisachubeka ukuthi lifeze wona lawo aspirations. Kwelo muhle kwesikhathanyalo sitawubuka leading headlines emaphephandabeni Eswatini Times of Eswatini rather ni Eswatini Observer.
Times of Eswatini lomuhla kungilesine. After losing in primary elections, Lutfo lodges objection against MP candidates. He says competitor did not have leave of absence letter from employer and should have been disqualified. More in that story on page 2. Hope pupil wins all expenses paid trip to Cape Town with teacher. 700 jobs at stake as TLC may halt operations anytime. Nasibuka letinye thamba imbili, wife told me she married me for money. Ngikusho kwa hubby. More on that story on page 9. Kanti ke nasibuka letinye lethamba imbili, EBC mobile app for elections results.
Wife told me she married me for money. What an honest wife. I think inzaba honesty iphila lemcoka kuma relationship lungele. Sisabuka letigijima embili kuma sports, good times of Eswatini this Thursday morning. Momo Cup 2023 playoff big derby is set to thrill. Emma Balanzeli Bebola, one will fall, and it's not Bull, Kusho Soli. Highlander South African coach says they'll do it for faithful supporters. Kanzige has also declared better the poison you know than smaller teams. Birds Caleb says no pressure, trusts, believes in his troops. Kanzige on the international front, Bellingham earns Real Madrid a late win. On Nasibuka Tikamga Eningsim Africa, Tswane rules Soweto as Pirates has lost 1-0 to Mamelodi Sundowns.
All right, Nasibuka Eswatini Observer, your leading headlines this morning. Eswatini to commit 30 billion amalangeni for SDGs. Commerce Minister unpacks SDG recovery and acceleration plan, and also gaps in HIV and AIDS response could reverse gains. The these are the top 20 performers essay writing Yaga Bible Society. Don't disturb children. Parents Association. And TLC staff concerned about their jobs. Those are the leading stories.
Kanzike umasibuka temidlalo ku Eswatini Observer, Evelyn Bering alumni Banele Pupus Konza has a 150,000 Malangeni price tag, which has been reportedly put out by his former team, Mbabane Swallows. Kanzike ulenyele hamba embili Galant Sitsebe succumbed to Burkina Faso. Zabagelena lekhulumisa Sithebe semhlekazi lesidlalene Burkina Faso sikhona siyatholakala naso lapha kulama headlines. Kanti-ke kulenye lehamba embili, NFD kicks off, Elite League games continue. This one speaks to umdlalo webhola again. The National First Division will kick off this coming weekend. Emagame latawudlalwa ke aqale ngolsonto.
Alright, isikhombisa imizuzu kushayela insimbi yesithupha lamhla ekuseni, isithathu salikhefu sibe netindzaba teswati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letiya ngaleso sikhatsi, tindzaba letide magama lacosheme, letitsembekile, letitsinza tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni.
Kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo, netemhlaba wonke jikelele, siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulomsakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letichamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Sinimukele tindzaba selipodlile libhubezi kamhlaba silo semhlaba sithi ilive leSwatini litawuchubeka nekutimisela endleleni lebheke kufezeni umgomo wakamhlaba 2030 kule minyaka lesikhombisa lesele. Ingonyama bekathe iphefumula emhlanganweni abaholi bemave akamhlabuhlangene lobanjelwe eNew York lapho imbube ivedele umhlaba ngemthetho sisekelo welive kunye nendlela ilive yokubusa lethe ihambelana nemvelaphi nemihambo yemaswati.
Silo semhlaba singethwe inkhosikati Makela amahlangu singenele umhlangano kamhlaba lochubekako lapha eNew York. Ngemuva ukuthi lo mhlangano uvule ngokwemthetho ngumabhalane jikelele wakamhlaba, baholi bemave babe sebaqala kwethula inkulumo tabo ngakulandzela luhlalo lubekwe ngumhlabuhlangene. Ingwenyama nalabanye baholi bemave akamhlaba bachubekile nekukhulumisa tindzaba leti khungethe umhlaba emhlanganweni we-17 wemave akamhlabhlangene. Tinkhulumo letethulwa baholi bemave kulomhlangano tihlala tilinziwe ngalabovu kanti futhi tisita kucatulula tinkinga letikhungethe umhlaba. Selibhodla libhubeze kulomhlangano lithe kumcoka ukuthi emavela ngephansi kwenhlangano yakamhlaba abumbane abe moya khona ekucatulula tinkinga letibhekene nekuthula aphindze futhi akhone nekufeza emaphuzu entuthuko le-Kusile. Impuphu yemhlaba iphindze yaveta ukuthi live laSwatini liyawusekela umgomo wakamhlaba wekubinzisa tibhamu nekuthula i-call for silencing of guns.
Mr. President, the Kingdom of Eswatini embraces multilateral cooperation and prioritizes adherence to international laws when looking to address the challenges posed by conflicts and wars. We therefore support the global call for silencing of guns which affect the most vulnerable groups. We remain steadfast in our call for peaceful resolution of conflicts and the continual improvement of democratic and inclusive governance.
Ingwenyama ithi noma live leSwatini likhenya beto ngomkhuhlane we-COVID-19 njengemave onke kodwa litimisele kufeza umgomo wakamhlaba wa-2030.
Significant strides have been made by the Kingdom of Eswatini in increasing access to electricity since adoption of the 2030 agenda. We now have national coverage above 80%. Also notable progress has been made in terms of road and ICT infrastructure connecting cities and economic zones. When it comes to access to basic water services, 69% of the population now enjoy this necessity, and access to basic sanitation services has reached 58% of our people. The literacy rate among adults aged 15 and above has improved from 79% in 2000 to 87%. The gross enrollment ratio for primary education has increased from 97% in 2000 to 104%. In the lead up to the SDG summit this week, the Kingdom of Eswatini undertook a series of consultations in each region, seeking the views of the people regarding how best to accelerate the attainment of the SDGs. Mr. President, Eswatini has continued to cherish her homegrown and unique model of a people-driven democratic governance. Like many other democracies, our constitution recognizes the role of the monarchy as well as a bicameral parliament, separation of powers, fundamental human rights, and the rule of law. It takes into account our rich cultural heritage and traditional African values in that it is grounded in respect, consensus, and community support through traditional structures. It is a monarchical democracy.
Lebe basingethe silo kulomhlangano bafaya ekhathi longcusele leSwatini enhlanganweni yakamhlaba Thami Dlamini umbanenkosi ibheko kwakhe umbanenkosi Lindiwe Chief Jozane nendvuna etangephandle nekubambisana lamanye emave indvuna yetempilo nendvuna yetemabhizinisi netekuthengiselana. Baholi kulomhlangano solo bachubekane kukhulumisa tindzaba tekuthula nekuphepha emhlabeni emaphuzu entuthuko le-Kusile timali tekusekela intuthuko emhlabeni ukuguquguquka kwesimo selitulu nekulwa nekubhekana nekulungiselela tifo letingahle tichamuke etindzabeni kubika Pholile Maziya eNew York, eMelika.
Silo samhlaba sihlangene namengameli belive le South Korea Yoon Suk Yeol inhlokodolobha yelive leMelika eNew York ngonyama iphinze yahlangana nendvuna yombuso yelive le-United Arab Emirates. Kule mihlangano imbube ibe netingcoco tekucinisa buhlobo emkhatsini welive leSwatini nalamave.
Your Majesty, how are you? Yes, very nice to see you. Thank you. You too? Wonderful.
Silo semhlaba siselapha eNew York even leMelika sihlangene nendvuna yombuso welive le-United Arab Emirates, His Excellency Sheikh Bout Al Nahyan. Ingonyama nendvuna yombuso bahlangene enhloko hovisi kaMhlaba lapho babukete khona ukuthuthukisa nokucinisa buhlobo emkhatsini kwalamave lamabili. Live leSwatini nele United Arab Emirates atimisele kucinisa budlelwane kude kuthengiselana netemnotfo ikakhulukati elihlangothini lokukhicita nakuletinye tinhlangothi letimcoka letingaba khona. Ingonyama ibonene namengameli welive le South Korea His Excellency Yoon Suk Yeol. Budlelwane emkhatsini kwelive leSwatini nele South Korea basungulwa ngeminyaka wa 1968 kani lamave lamabili achubekile nekucinisa buhlobo bekubambisana nebungani eminyakeni lengcile. Imbube namengameli ibe netingcoco tekubuketa kucinisa nekukhulisa buhlobo emkhatsini kwalamave lamabili. Kubambisana lokukhona emkhatsini kwalamave lamabili kusetinhlangothini letifaya khatsi temphilo, tenhlalakahle, tekungena netekuphuma emahekeni kuye nokucecesha tisebenti yetinhlangothini letehlukene. Etindzabeni kubika Pholile Maziya eNew York.
Liphini landvinankulu Themba Masuku selibuyile ekhaya ngemuva kwekumelela silo emhlanganweni we-G77 plus China. Masuku uthi lo mhlangano ugcile kakhulu ekuthuleni tisombululo kutebuchwephesha kanye nekugucuka kwesimo selitulu kulokunye. Masuku bekakhulumana kabika ngalolu hambo ehekeni laseNgwenya.
Liphini landvinankulu Themba Masuku libike ngeluhambo lwayo lokuya even leCuba lapho beliyomelela silo emhlanganweni we-G77 plus China. Liphini landvinankulu lithi lenye yetinfo legcamile lebekukhulunywa ngato olufaka ekhatsi tisombululo tekulwa nekweswelakala kwekudla.
Kube kubuka ukuthi laba nabanalo loluphenyo labaphenyako lasebaphenyile babe sebafaka tincabekelwana letenta ukuthi kungasebenteki ngemthetho we-intellectual property. Kusho ukuthi nakabe uthole sisombululo sekuthi mhlambe uvikele umkhuhlane thide uthi ungathola lelo khambi bese uyabhalisa lendlela lobona ukuthi utakuvimba ngalo. Kusho ukuthi lo munye sefuneka acele kuwe kuzakwente sakubona-ke nge-COVID ukuthi nalaba sebathole le mijovo yayikhona kwakulukhuni ukuyithola ngoba babe bambelele kule intellectual property bathi ngeke sikunike ungakaceli kithi noma sowucela baphinze bagodle nabangagodle bakudulisele. So ukuthi-ke le G77 eChina ithi ake sikubuke lokho thina ngoba kulokunye ukhanza ukuthi lo lobonakele lo la ku G77 wabonakala sanhlanje phela sanelisu langahlalente bese laba basentshonalanga sebamthatha sebamnika buve bakhona sekubhaliswa letinto lebekatenta ngala so ngathi dakhona kasitentiwe kulamanye alamalunga e-G77 kubesikhalo-ke lesikhulu nalapho.
Masuku uthi batfole nelithuba lekuvusela abafunzi bakuleli labafundza eveni leCuba. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni kunaThemba Shabangu eNgwenya.
Imvuna yetemvelo Moses Vilakati ikhothata eMaswati ukuthi yaqinisekisa ukuthi imvelo ibuyiselwa lapho beyikhona ngaphambilini yaphinze ayivikele ayonke. Imvuna ithumisa uhulumende ngekwesekela sikhwama sekonga imvelo ngalokuphelele. Abekhuluma nakahlomelisa tinhlangano temimango tekonga letonga imvelo emcimbini lobanjelwe ehhotela le-The George kaManzini.
Hulumende ufake imali lengetulu kwa-2 million emalangeni kulomnyaka wa 2023-2024 esikhwameni sekonga imvelo. Lesikhwama sesineminyaka lesihlanu sisita imimango ukuthi ikhone konga imvelo. Ikhulumana ihlomelisa tinhlangano temmango telive lonke letilishumi nesihlanu letawufaka ekhatsi tikolwa. Indvuna Moses Vilakati ithi litiko litfole ticelo letingetulu kwelikhulu.
Manje ke nyalo kufike lesikhathi lekuthi lelesikwendile thina asisale sikubuyisela lapho bekhona khona idolo. Namhlanje sitokushumayela lelo vangeli ukuthi lala nisuka khona kungaba lidonga kungaba ngemandi kungaba yinini asikubuyisele ngendlela bekunguyo idolo lapho umdali akudala khona.
Sarah Pandita wenhlangano yeSwatini Anti-Venom lokhulumelela abazuzile uthi inhloso yabo kwenda umehluko emmangweni wabo.
The diversity that we have here is a testament to all our ideas in this country, the innovation from wetlands to teaching our next generation in schools, to doing the more controversial things, whether it's hanging out with snakes or hanging out with owls, which seem to be causing a lot of a stir amongst the audience.
Letinhlangano tifaka ekhatsi leto letitawuhlanyela tihlahla temtsabu letitawuvala tinvonga kanye naleto letitawubiyela ematete kuletinye. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu kaManzini.
Imvuna yekuvakasha Moses Vilakati seyetfulele ibandla labacondzisi belihhotela lahulumende iPigs Peak Hotel. Imvuna ithi kuthuthuka kwaleli hotela kutawusita kuthuthukisa nekukhutsata emaswati ukuthi avakashe domestic tourism. Sihlalo waleli bandla ngubatshele Sengwayo.
Indvuna yelitiko letemvelo Moses Vilakati seyetfulele ibandla lebacondzisi belihhotela lahulumende iPigs Peak Hotel letawubhekeka ukuthi ibe sehhovisi iminyaka lemithatfu.
This new board is coming in at an interesting time where the hotel has just secured an operator known as Transfrontier Parks Destinations. It is therefore my belief that combined with the skills of the new board from their various disciplines and the experience in hospitality of TFPD, the hotel has at its disposal all the tools to turn its fortunes around. With that said, I therefore challenge you to make Pigs Peak Hotel and Casino great again.
Batshele Sengwayo longusihlalo wethembise ukuthi batawenda loko litiko lelibatfume kona.
Kwethu kukwethembisa ukuthi njoba sowubekile ukuthi umbuso ubheke ini ukuthi sendeni sitakwenda njengoba sowusitshelile mpephethe sithemba ukuthi uNkulunkulu utawuba nathi bese siya lishaya leligoli lekufanele ukuthi silishaye lesesinikwe lona.
Emalunga lelibandla afaka ekhatsi Harry Mhlabane, Dr. Dan Dlamini, Mbekwa Mthethwa, Happy Dlamini kanye na Gcina ngaye Thabetse. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu kaManzini.
Komcoka ukuthi isive singasaleli ngaphandle uma kondlondlobaliswa tebuciko njengoba tithinta ngco intuthuko yelive. Lokho kushiwo ngumabhalane lomkhulu etiko letekwatisa nebuciko phesheya Dube lebekamelelwe ngumcondzisi welihlangothi lekugcina emagugu elive Ncoba Msibi. Enkhulumeni la yethule nakavula umhlangano lapho khona tinhlangothi letehlukahlukene tibonisana ukuthi buciko lobakhiwa bamfu bungathuthukiswa kanjani kuleli.
The Ministry of Information, Communications and Technology is committed to working with stakeholders and citizens to fulfill its vision. I quote, a knowledge-based and digitally inclusive society. The following legislations have been enacted into law. The Electronic Communications and Transactions Act of 2022 and Computer Crime and Cyber Act of 2022 and the drafting of the Eswatini Digital Strategy, all in an effort to propel technological advancement. I'd love to commend the Kingdom of Eswatini Academy of Sciences and the Department of Research, Science, Technology and Innovation for pioneering this innovation forum to engage key players of the national system of innovation, learn from each other, and hopefully establish partnership for goals.
Libandla lelibuke ukuchutshwa kwelukhetho emaveni aka-SADC selifikile kuleli ukutawuchuba umsebenzi walo. Ngekusho kombiko lokhishwe betindzaba lelibandla likuleli ngaphansi kwesandla samengameli welive leZambia His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema esigabeni sakhe sokuba ngusihlalo weliphiko lolibuke tekuphepha ka-SADC.
Lo mbiko lokhishwe kuleli bandla uchaza ukuthi litawukhipha abantu labatawuba kuto tonke tifundza telive nasetinkundleni kuyobuka ukuthi ngabe tiyalandzeleka intimiso talenhlangano letifaka ekhatsi kukhululeka nekuba sebaleni kwelikhetho lolive. Lo chumanisa libandla letelikhetho nemingcele yetinkundla kuleli mbonisa ibhembe uthi tinyenti tinhlangano temhlaba letimenyiwe ukuthi titobuka likhetho loMaswati.
Iyacela ukuthi eMaswati angetfuki uma bahamba ngaphandle bababona njengaloku kuthi khona imimango lesakhankasa kulandzela lukhetho nobe luhlelo lwe-organized campaign tutawuchubeka nabo sitabanika lolu hlelo basivakashele ngemango siyacela lokuthi babaphe indlebe batawufuna nabo ukuthi bativele kuwo Maswati ukuthi ungabe inzima yabo ekusebenteni lona lukhetho ihamba ifika kuphi laba bekunene nasewucedzile umsebenzi babese basinika umbiko ukuthi uma babuka lukhetho laseSwatini luhambe kanjani.
Live leSwatini ngilolodwa ivenikati leAfrika lelikhetha ngendlela yalo yetinkundla lesaticabela yona sive seMaswati njengoba kukhetha kucala esigabeni sebuchopho kuyawufika esigabeni semalunga eParliamente. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube eMbabane.
Kutemidlalo likhethe resive labomake isithebe semhlekazi selikhale phansi kuBurkina Faso ngemagoli lamathathu kulamabili emidlalweni odlalelwe enkundleni yesive kasomhlolo. Umlende wesibili utawudlalelwa iveni le-Ivory Coast ngalesibili evikini elitako. Lena imidlalo yekuhlunga emave latawungenela indzebe ye-AFCON itabanjelwa iveni le-Morocco eminyakeni letako.
Ikhethelwe lesive labomake isithebe semhlekazi sitfolana netulu neBurkina Faso ngaphasi kwendlalo yekuhlungela indzebe ye-Women Africa Cup of Nations litawubanjelwa eveni laseMorocco eminyakeni lotako. Lo mdlalo udlalela enkundleni yesive kasomhlolo lapho khona esigabeni sekucala iBurkina Faso ikhombe kuba namandla yathola amagoli amathathu. Isigaba sekucala saphela ihamba embili amagoli amathathu ecanzini. Esigabeni sesibili isithebe sikhombe kubuya naso salitfola licala ngemuva komzuzu lelishumi. Sicubekile isithebe nekutfola ligoli lesibili kodwa-ke asikakhona kulitfola. Nasekusele imizuzu lemibili ukuthi umdlalo uphele tenanile Ncamphalala longukapteni walelikhethelo uthole lesibili umdlalo waphela kanjalo iBurkina Faso ehamba embili ngamagoli amathathu kulamabili. Umlento wesibili utawudlalwa ngalesibili eveni lase-Ivory Coast njengoba iBurkina Faso iyite inkundla levumelekile ekudlalisa lemidlalo. Sithebe sitawusuka kuleli ngelisonto kulempela sonto lesiya kuyo. Lobikela umsakazi weSouthern TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kanti umbiko uhlanganisa nguFabrice Msonera enkundleni yesive kasomhlolo kalubamba.
Kulandzela kuthonsana kwamacembu lamabili amakhulu edolobheni laseMbabane lokuyiMbabane Highlanders kanye neMbabane Swallows ngaphansi kwendzebe yeMomo Cup yalonyaka balandzeli balamacembu bathi itawulala ibonene. Lo mdlalo udodlalwa ngemgcibelo enkundleni kaMavuso kaManzini. Satephetha ngaleto temidlalo sithatha isikhefu sibe sichubeke nehlelo sinishine semusodulu.
Ibandla letelukhetho nemingcele Elections and Boundaries Commission bathi sasive ukuthi kuvota ngalokukhetsekile special voting kutawuba mhlati ngemashumi lamabili nesitfupha kulesetulu 26 September 2023. Kanti lukhetho lolukhulu lona lutawubanjwa mhlati ngemashumi lamabili nemfica kulesetulu 29 September 2023. Ngete ngasala nasakha live letfu.
Umsakato wetithombe Eswatini TV ehlangothini lebetindzaba umengemumo ngalesihlanu mhlati ngemashumi lamabili nemfica kulesetulu uthathelita lo msakato titabe titsacitsisaka kutototine tifundza telive leSwatini totonke tikhungo tekuvotela tikuletsela konke lokutabe kwenteka elikhethweni elikhulu. kanti-ke indzaba itabe icale mhla tinge-26 kulesetulu esigabeni la kutabe kuvota khona labo labaniketwe imvumo yekuvota esigabeni lesithi special voting.
Kusukela ngesimbi yesikhombisa ekseni kude kuphume yona imiphumela, libandla letindzaba litawube lifake likhala phansi licubungula liphindze libuya nato tinjengobe tinjalo likulethela bukhoma kumabonakudze wakho nasetinkundleni tekuchumana. Leti tindzaba telukhetfo lolukhulu lwa 2023 singete sasala nakwakhiwa live letfu.
Right, it's 32 minutes after 6. Asiphinze sikwamukele lihlelweni ngwane lomuhle besilo ke nasicala lihlelo ukuthi sitawuthola lithuba lekuva silo semhlaba sibhodla khona United Nations General Assembly. Lungelele, I believe it's going to be the whole speech.
Yeah, the whole speech, yes. Inkhulumo nje ingwenyama le ithule khona emhlanganweni asesithatha nje kwelalela ukuthi ingabe silo sibhodle sathini.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Majesty King Mswati III, Head of State of the Kingdom of Eswatini. I request protocol to escort His Majesty. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome His Majesty King Mswati III, Head of the State of the Kingdom of Eswatini, and invite him to address the Assembly. Your Majesty, Your Majesty.
Mr. President, Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, the United Nations Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to address this 78th General Assembly under the theme Rebuilding Trust and Reigniting Global Solidarity, accelerating action on the 2030 Agenda and its sustainable development goals towards peace, prosperity, progress, and sustainability for all. In a world faced with complex challenges such as climate change, poverty, inequality, and resource depletion, it has become increasingly evident that sustainable development is not just a noble aspiration, but is an imperative for the survival and well-being of our planet and its inhabitants. For 78 years, the United Nations has stood for the great ideal of building an international system of collaboration, solidarity, and common purpose. The values of the UN Charter, which are our roadmap today, will remain as such for generations to come, because the United Nations is founded on the timeless ideals of global peace, security, development, human rights, and global cooperation. Today, we need unity in our organization more than ever before. Among the multiple crises we are experiencing are the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical conflicts and wars, and the climate change catastrophe. These have undermined our resilience and increased vulnerability to shocks and significantly slowed the progress to achieve the SDG by 2030. Just as the founders of the UN once united to address the challenges of their time, for the benefit of all, it is now our responsibility to stand together and to confront those we face today, rebuild trust, and take swift action to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the African Agenda 2063. Of great concern are the conflicts around the world, the coups and the unconstitutional change of governments in several African states, which are negating the gains towards attaining our AU goals. We have also witnessed natural disasters in the form of floods and earthquakes that have claimed thousands of lives in Libya and Morocco, among others. We wish to extend our sympathies and condolences to those who have lost their loved ones. The Kingdom of Eswatini wishes to encourage the efforts that are being undertaken to find a political solution to the matter regarding the Western Sahara within the parameters of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2654 of 2022. We command the United Nations Secretary General and his personal envoy to progress dialogue as means to reaching a sustainable solution to the impasse. To attain this, we need to actively practice tolerance and promote peace in all areas. We owe it to ourselves to reignite global solidarity to achieve economic and social advancement for all our peoples. Mr. President, the Kingdom of Eswatini embraces multilateral cooperation and prioritizes adherence to international laws when looking to address the challenges posed by conflicts and wars. We therefore support the global call for silencing of guns which affect the most vulnerable groups. We remain steadfast in our call for peaceful resolution of conflicts and the continual improvement of democratic and inclusive governance. The Kingdom of Eswatini therefore commends the UN Secretary General for facilitating the new agenda for peace, which promotes the principles of trust and solidarity that are foundations of the UN Charter. Eswatini supports women empowerment and youth participation in decision-making for conflict prevention and development. We should work to advance gender equality and end violence against women. Our focus is on building accountable, effective, and inclusive institutions aligned with SDG 16. We have established a legal aid office to enhance access to justice and the rule of law, especially for vulnerable and marginalized groups. We have also developed an implementation plan for the Universal Periodic Review on Human Rights and strengthen national institutions of monitoring and reporting frameworks to promote and protect human rights for all Eswatini. Like all other member states, Eswatini's implementation of the SDG has been impacted by the multiple shocks, both at global and national levels. Notwithstanding these challenges, as a country, we remain steadfast in our commitment to achieve these targets. We have been ranked top 5 by the World Bank for our growing economy, with our GDP growth at about 7.8%. We attained the second greatest manufacturing value added per capita country and are placed 6th on the 2022 Africa Industrialization Index. Furthermore, we have been ranked number 9 amongst the 10 African countries with the highest GDP per capita. We will not rest on our laurels, but work much harder as we look to improve our economy. Mr. President, the recent global challenges had negative impacts on our ability to provide social services, including health and education. Despite this, we have significantly reduced the rate of under 5 deaths and the maternal mortality ratio in Eswatini. The HIV prevalence amongst adults aged 15 to 49 has also dropped. We continue to work tirelessly to strengthen our healthcare systems while also ensuring that our citizens have access to these essential services. We commend the UN Secretary General for the many initiatives aimed at helping member states to recover better from these multiple shocks. Following our participation in the Transforming Education Summit last year, we are delighted to share that the country continues to increase opportunities for learning and skills development, including through the integration and use of digital technologies. Significant strides have been made by the Kingdom of Eswatini in increasing access to electricity since adoption of the 2030 agenda. We now have national coverage above 80%. Also notable progress has been made in terms of road and ICT infrastructure connecting cities and economic zones. When it comes to access to basic water services, 69% of the population now enjoy this necessity, and access to basic sanitation services has reached 58% of our people. The literacy rate among adults aged 15 and above has improved from 79% in 2000 to 87%. The gross enrollment ratio for primary education has increased from 97% in 2000 to 104%. In the lead up to the SDG summit this week, the Kingdom of Eswatini undertook a series of consultations in each region, seeking the views of the people regarding how best to accelerate the attainment of the SDGs. As a result, the Kingdom has prioritized investments in key areas in the remaining 7 years. We want to create decent jobs and employment opportunities for everyone, especially the youth. We want to improve water and sanitation for all. We are convinced that this will help secure maximum progress across all 17 SDGs. Mr. President, Eswatini has continued to cherish her homegrown and unique model of a people-driven democratic governance. Like many other democracies, our constitution recognizes the role of the monarchy as well as a bicameral parliament, separation of powers, fundamental human rights, and the rule of law. It takes into account our rich cultural heritage and traditional African values in that it is grounded in respect, consensus, and community support through traditional structures. It is a monarchical democracy. Our system is based on individual merit, where candidates are nominated from their communities to stand for elections in constituencies which we call Tingundla, to which they are accountable. The electorate expects members of parliament to meet as colleagues rather than combatants, to look for consensus as opposed to partisanship, and to balance the interest of their constituencies with those of the nation. In terms of our democratic dispensation, elections are a constitutional imperative and are held every 5 years. Eswatini is in the middle of our electoral cycle in a bid to elect the 12th parliament. In this regard, a voter registration exercise was conducted, which returned over 95% registered against an eligible population. This was a resounding success and a ringing endorsement of the support for the system of government. As we speak, the nomination process has been completed. Primary elections were held on the 26th August 2023, and our secondary elections will be taking place 29th September 2023. We are looking forward to Emaswati expressing their desires through the ballot box. Sibaya remains one of our highest institutions where Emaswati dialogue and play their part in determining the future they want. It is an inclusive forum where citizens, irrespective of gender and social status, discuss issues of national interest. A couple of weeks ago, the nation was celebrating 55 years of our independence, during which Emaswati have been living in peace and harmony. Mr. President, Eswatini has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected some of our social sectors. Although we have made progress in reducing poverty and inequality, they remain high. As a result, we continue to battle with high unemployment, especially among the youth. With the support of the United Nations in Eswatini, we have launched a youth empowerment program which has generated great public interest from the private sector. We hope to enroll at least 4,000 young people into the program to increase their chances of employment, help them start their own businesses, and with access to finance. The European Union has also pledged to support youth empowerment initiatives to mitigate the unemployment situation. Eswatini is highly dependent on external sources of income, such as regional trade, remittances, and transfers from the Southern African Customs Union. We continue to implement structural reforms to improve our business environment, diversify our economy, and foster inclusive growth. We have recently launched our national implementation strategy for the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. 2 days ago, on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, we had a resource mobilization session to introduce the Africa Strategic Investment Alliance. This will support the program of the E-Trade, which seeks to create a digital marketing platform for all African countries to promote trading through technologies. We are also looking at the advanced countries to share their experiences so that Africa will not be left behind. We urge member states and financial institutions to support the AE Trade Initiative. We wish to commend the private sector that participated at this forum and further committed itself to pledges towards this noble objective. This will help us take full advantage of the opportunities for intra-Africa trade, increase national productivity, and promote regional integration in the world's largest free trade area that connects 1.3 billion people across 55 countries with a combined gross domestic product valued at $3.4 trillion. Eswatini is embracing the leave no one behind principle, which is the central promise of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its goals. As we work towards achieving these targets, it is crucial to re-evaluate the global financial architecture. We must address interest rates in a way that is fair and beneficial for both the least and developing nations. This will ensure eradication of poverty in all its forms and improved living conditions for the poorest of the poor. Sustaining the SDG will require that member states develop innovative financing strategies to ensure that implementation reaches the most left behind. At this critical juncture, including Taiwan is an essential next step if we are to successfully achieve the 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development. We call for Taiwan's inclusion in the United Nations system, which encompasses participation in meetings, mechanisms, and activities that pertain to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. This would not only strengthen global cooperation and partnership, but also emphasize the principle of ensuring that no one is left behind. In conclusion, Mr. President, the remaining 7 years, Eswatini will continue to prioritize the implementation of the SDGs and ensure that they remain the core agenda behind our development. We are optimistic that a wide range of actors will be mobilized and that capacities will be strengthened to ensure achievement of the goals by 2030. The SDGs will continue to be a guiding light that shapes national policies, budgets, institutions, governments, and sector strategies. The Kingdom stands with the rest of the world in committing to accelerating progress in the implementation of the UN targets in the remaining 7 years. The year 2030, the year 2023 is a turning point for the country as we hope to break through to a better future for all. Mr. President, let me take this opportunity to wish you all successful deliberations. I thank you. May Almighty God bless us all. Siyabonga.
Wena bashoba lenkuzi kangwani ngani limnyama lesabeka wena Mswati lo ingongoni emngonga ngani ngani lo wavusa kwethuka bamagagula kadokolo ku labate bahlala buhlalu kwaye kwethuka bakagamane bakamnisi nangunamanjolo umangelo nophakathi layelala langakhawula itati nguzamqolo noma naye nabatalo yathi liyawufuna kwangitshela ukuthi ene malangeni jubala kusathalabisa ingilande esikolweni unelefa wena Mswati wase uba indlaluselwa wase uyayibamba impeniseli ngisho la kwasana ngayo mkhwase gijima ngubona bohla ngesha kwethlwandle kwatamatama livela Mswati timbi bataphuma kusakala lathi ngwetacela emuzini lapha emzimba tati bona ingonyama ehlane ehlula umbutho wena ngemkhombo wena ngakangwani ngani ilanga lapho mayitsheni lapha kankosikati tingabi sathe ekhane safeni tiyagijima tawutekela bonini emakhaya inani banele baphuma bahlolwa ngetikhalate emaguma makho setive ngonyana lemunya lapho setibuya imbunga umvemvakisi waselusaseni awuhlali phansi wesabathi intuli situle emhlophe ngeuhlula emanga emadvodza mwangeli usundu ngekushe kwekuphephuka ematala wena-ke msawa hilika hilulela ekhane safeni wena-ke mswathi ngekubusa ubuyelele wena ngabhuzalise emkhoneni lisetandleni kuduma kwakho mswathi kunyakatise umhlaba ungane ingani kwathi kwabhoda isiwahlande kulakamlumbi ingani kwathi mashala agansa aphuma moyitela lo mashikizela kangwane inganashiye umbutho wokuhlakula inani lengwena lapha esitheni kulanqabane wayesowufane emhlambi emagwalagwala wena mswathi ingani usulwasulwa nendvodza esihlahleni kufa kondvodza kuwumtamo wona lo fluzu uthi kangwane emhlabeni nangengqingo njengenkomo izawusengwa wona sibhabaza kuyasa kangwane ingani umdumo onjengezulu emambala mswathi yababa mhlohlo babela izingomo zikagogo wakho ngoba uyazibona nangemkhondo kangwane ingane ziyandinda ngisho kuloluphondo lwengongoni kangwane esiqopholoti wona mswathi logabe abantu kangwane ingani bonjengamathanga waqhakaza-ke mswazi omnyama kulabaluthuli waba njengekuvuma kwenqwala uyimbuku ingonyama udle ematholo ezinyathi ayethe unophakathi khula mlisa khula nzanzane elive bakwesabe betipekele betibhala.
Yeah, that was His Majesty King Mswati III addressing the United Nations General Assembly. Lesikhatsanyalo sitawahlola etmakethe sitawubuya sichubeke nehlelo.
Bongosi egameni lelibandla letelkhetho nemingcele tingudla ngingusihlalo walo libandla sihlanganyela nesive malangeni lamahle kuhalalisela ingwenyama inkosi yethu inkosi Mswati wesithathu minyakeni lamashumi lasihlanu nakuhlanu kanye nelive longana kundiphethe wethu ukuthi lo lingana nabo netinsuku tengwenyama letingu 55 nananathi sisive seMaswati sina leminyaka ilengu 55 sesikhululekile ngandiphethe. Siyabonga ke bongosi sisahalalisele makhosi ethu nelive ukuthi nebayitolo lekungibona lesithi te basebenta lelive makhosi ayitolo nesive seMaswati sonke sayitolo ngoba lokhu lesesifike lamhla siyasakukhanza sakuhala lesikuhalaliselako ngilokuchamuka kibo lekumbita ke ukuthi ke nathi siMaswati njengekukhonjwa indlela amakhosi ngosi yelive sichubekeni silibeke live libe ngiloko lekungona lesikukhanzile nathi nalokungcono Maswati silibandla lelikhetho nemingcele sisahalalisele makhosi nelive ngandiphethe sijinga siphinze futhi siwabongele makhosi ngemsebenzi losedulo eveni welikhetho sisitengcile tigaba tokuqala lebesikito nyalo ke sekuseleke sigaba lesesisedulu ke yokungisona sona ke sesitawu siniketa iparlamente yethu isinikete futhi emabandla enkundla lekuba ubuchopho ke lobakhiwa induna tetinkundla lekungibona bosihlalo bese ke nabo ubuchopho bemiphakathi benkundla labakha lobuchopho lelibandla lenkundla lekungilona lelisebenzisana kanye neparlamente nahulumende welive leMaswati wongana bongosi emalanga umuntu akandlulise lokuthi ngumhla ka-26 we-special voting bese ulandzela ke umhla ka-29 September walolukhetho lelukhulu lukhetho lwesibili lesongilona loluyi-final ngalawo magama amalangeni sikhutha lwandle sibongele live lebongosi
bayethe wena waphakathi wena ungangezindaba
Right, let's take our English news. His Majesty King Mswati III has addressed the United Nations General Assembly. The King says the Kingdom of Eswatini will continue striving and working towards attaining the United Nations Agenda 2030. The King was addressing the 78th United Nations General Assembly held in New York, where the King revealed to the Assembly about the constitution of the Itinkhundla system of the country, as well as how it works.
His Majesty King Mswati III, accompanied by Inkosikati Mage Lamahlangu, took part in the UN high-level meeting that is underway here in New York. After the official opening of the General Assembly on Tuesday, the 19th, member states started delivering their addresses as per the schedule by the United Nations. His Majesty and other world leaders continued to address pressing world issues at the 78th United Nations General Assembly. The United Nations General Debate is one of the anticipated annual events and offers a platform for leaders to address issues of international concern. Addressing the General Assembly, His Majesty King Mswati III said member states need to unite more than ever at this moment to attain peace and the sustainable development goals. His Majesty also highlighted that the Kingdom of Eswatini strongly believes and supports the call for the silencing of guns.
Mr. President, the Kingdom of Eswatini embraces multilateral cooperation and prioritizes adherence to international laws when looking to address the challenges posed by conflicts and wars. We therefore support the global call for silencing of guns which affect the most vulnerable groups. We remain steadfast in our call for peaceful resolution of conflicts and the continual improvement of democratic and inclusive governance.
Ingwenyama has also revealed to the General Assembly that even though the kingdom has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic like other countries, but the country is still striving towards attaining the Agenda 2030.
Significant strides have been made by the Kingdom of Eswatini in increasing access to electricity since adoption of the 2030 agenda. We now have national coverage above 80%. Also notable progress has been made in terms of road and ICT infrastructure connecting cities and economic zones. When it comes to access to basic water services, 69% of the population now enjoy this necessity, and access to basic sanitation services has reached 58% of our people. The literacy rate among adults aged 15 and above has improved from 79% in 2000 to 87%. The gross enrollment ratio for primary education has increased from 97% in 2000 to 104%. In the lead up to the SDG summit this week, the Kingdom of Eswatini undertook a series of consultations in each region, seeking the views of the people regarding how best to accelerate the attainment of the SDGs. Mr. President, Eswatini has continued to cherish a homegrown and unique model of a people-driven democratic governance. Like many other democracies, our constitution recognizes the role of the monarchy as well as a bicameral parliament, separation of powers, fundamental human rights, and the rule of law. It takes into account our rich cultural heritage and traditional African values in that it is grounded in respect, consensus, and community support through traditional structures. It is a monarchical democracy.
The king during the General Assembly was accompanied by Eswatini ambassador at the United Nations, His Excellency Tammy Dlamini, His Royal Highness Prince Begogwake, Her Royal Highness Princess Lindiwe, Chief Jozani, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the Minister of Health and the Minister of Commerce and Trade Industry. The leaders are addressing issues on peace and security, sustainable development goals, development financing, climate change and pandemic prevention, preparedness and response. On the news, Kusile Mazia in New York, in the United States of America.
His Majesty King Mswati III also met with the President of the South Korea, His Excellency Yoon Suk Yeol, while in New York. The King also met with the Minister of State from the United Arab Emirates, and during the meetings the King had bilateral talks on how to further strengthen the relations between the countries and Eswatini.
Your Majesty, how are you? Yes, very nice to see you. Thank you. You too? Wonderful.
His Majesty King Mswati III, while in New York in the United States of America, met with the Minister of State of the United Arab Emirates, His Excellency Sheikh Shakbut Al Nahyan. The King and His Excellency had bilateral talks while at the United Nations headquarters to enhance the cooperation between the two countries. The Kingdom of Eswatini and the United Arab Emirates are very keen to strengthen trade and economic relations, notably in manufacturing and other strategic areas. His Majesty King Mswati III met with the President of South Korea, His Excellency Yoon Suk Yeol. The diplomatic relations between Eswatini and South Korea were established in 1968, and the two countries have continued to develop friendly and cooperative relations. The King and the President had bilateral talks on expanding bilateral cooperation. The cooperation has been created in the fields of health, welfare, customs administration, and personal training into a wider range of areas. On the news, Kusile Mazia in New York.
The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku has returned from Cuba, where he was representing His Majesty King Mswati III during the G77 plus China summit. Masuku says the summit focused on finding solutions to addressing science, technology, food security, and climate change. The Deputy Prime Minister was speaking during a press conference which was held at the Ngwenya border post.
The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku is back in the country. This follows his visit to Cuba, where he was representing His Majesty King Mswati III during the G77 plus China summit. The Deputy Prime Minister, addressing the media, says the summit's key focus was to find solutions to issues that are threatening food security.
Laba nalo loluphenyo labaphenya lasebaphenyile babe sebafaka tinkabekelwana letenta ukuthi kungasebenteki ngemthetho we-intellectual property. Kusho ukuthi nangabe uthole sisombululo sekuthi mhlambe uvikele umkhuhlane thide uthi ungathola lelo khambi bese uyabhalisa lendlela lo bona ukuthi akufimpa ngalo kusho ukuthi lo munye sefuneka acele kuwe kuzakwente sakubona ke ngeCovid ukuthi nalaba labese bathole le mijovo yayikhona kwakulukhuni ukuyithola ngoba babe bambelele kule intellectual property bathi ngeke sikunike ungakaceli kithi noma sowucela baphindze bagodle nabangagodle bakudulisele so ukuthi ke le G77 eChina ithi ake sikubuke lokho thina ngoba kulokunye ukhanza ukuthi lo lobonakele lo la ku G77 wabonakala sanhlanje phela sanelisu langahlalente bese laba basentshonalanga sebamthatha sebamnika buve bakhona sekubhaliswa letinto lebekatenta ngala so ngathi dakhona kasitentiwe kulamanye alamalunga eG77 kubesikhalo ke lesikhulu nalapho.
Masuku says they were able to meet eMaswati that are studying in Cuba. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Ngwenya.
Tourism and Environmental Affairs Minister Moses Vilakazi encourages the Maswati to restore, protect and conserve the environment. Vilakazi commends government for fully funding Eswatini Environment Fund, and the minister was speaking during the awarding ceremony of the fund's beneficiaries for the year 2022-2023, which was held in the Manzini region.
The government of Eswatini has funded the 4th edition of Environmental Fund with over 2 million emalangeni. Speaking during the awarding ceremony of the 2023-2024 beneficiaries, the Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilakazi, says the fund provides communities to come up with environmental solutions that will help to restore and conserve the environment.
The Eswatini Environment Fund has been consistently provided seed funding for community projects, which is addressing environmental ills within our societies. These communities and schools have joined government in the fight against environmental degradation challenges that the country is faced with. This project comes mainly from 5 priority areas of the Environment Fund, which are sustainable land management, chemical and waste management, climate change adaptation, sustainable water management and ecosystems, and biodiversity conservation and its sustainable use.
The beneficiaries' representative, Sarah Pandinda, says they want to make a positive change in the restoration of the environment.
The diversity that we have here is a testament to all our ideas in this country, the innovation from wetlands to teaching our next generation in schools, to doing the more controversial things, whether it's hanging out with snakes or hanging out with owls, which seem to be causing a lot of a stir amongst the audience.
Some of the environmental projects involve donga rehabilitation, conservation of wetland, and other projects. Some of these projects will be conducted by local schools. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
The minister also unveiled the Peaks Peak Hotel Board of Directors yesterday. The minister encouraged the board to take the hotel to greater heights, and that will help in improving the tourism sector in the country. The board will be chaired by Bachele Sengwayo.
The Minister for Tourism, Moses Vilakazi, has urged the incoming Board of Directors to work hard in ensuring that tourists receive a unique customer service. Vilakazi challenges the new board to make Peaks Peak Hotel and Casino great again.
This new board is coming in at an interesting time where the hotel has just secured an operator known as Transfrontier Parks Destinations. It is therefore my belief that combined with the skills of the new board from their various disciplines and the experience in hospitality of TFPD, the hotel has at its disposal all the tools to turn its fortunes around. With that said, I therefore challenge you to make Peaks Peak Hotel and Casino great again.
The board of directors consists of Henry Mhlabane, Dr. Den Dlamini, Mpegwa Mthethwa, Happy Dlamini, and Igcinangai Thabetse. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
It is important for eMaswati to be fully involved in the development of technological programs, especially artificial intelligence, as it has a direct bearing on the lives of all eMaswati. These were the sentiments of the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of ICT, Pesheya Dube, who was represented by the Director of National Archives, Ngoba Msibi. This was during an Artificial Intelligence Forum, which was held at the Royal Science and Technology Park at Nogwane.
The Ministry of Information, Communications and Technology is committed to working with stakeholders and citizens to fulfill its vision. I quote, a knowledge-based and digitally inclusive society. The following legislations have been enacted into law. The Electronic Communications and Transactions Act of 2022 and Computer Crime and Cyber Act of 2022 and the drafting of the Eswatini Digital Strategy, all in an effort to propel technological advancement. I'd love to commend the Kingdom of Eswatini Academy of Sciences and the Department of Research, Science, Technology and Innovation for pioneering this innovation forum to engage key players of the national system of innovation, learn from each other, and hopefully establish partnership for goals.
The SADC Electoral Observation Mission has arrived in the Kingdom of Eswatini to observe the country's parliamentary elections. Now, in a report released by the SADC Secretariat, the mission has been deployed by the President of Zambia, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, in his capacity as the chairperson of the SADC organ on politics, defense, as well as security cooperation.
The press release by the SADC Electoral Observation Mission states that its personnel will be deployed in the 4 regions of the country, as well as Tinkundla centers and polling stations, to observe if the election process is in line with the aspirations of the SADC principles and guidelines of democratic elections. The Elections and Boundaries Commission's Communications Officer, Molisi Pembe, says there are a number of international organizations that have been invited by government to come and observe the country's elections.
Iyacela ukuthi eMaswati angethuki uma bahamba ngaphandle bababona.
I will request Eswatini to welcome the SADC Observer Mission with open arms, as there are communities that are still in the campaigning stage. We will also afford the SADC Observer Mission with the opportunity to be part of the proceedings and further engage with the electorate. Once they are done with their mission, they shall compile their own report based on their independent observation of our elections and further make recommendations.
The Kingdom of Eswatini has a homegrown system of governance whereby the electorate is represented by people elected from grassroots level up to parliament. Reporting for Eswatini TV, I'm Mbongwa Dube in Babane.
The Kingdom of Eswatini can create more business opportunities if it were to invest in sustainable energy production. This will allow businesses to operate seamlessly. These sentiments were shared by the new Business Eswatini President, Mvuselelo Fagutse. Now, Fagutse was elected during the organization's annual general mission, which was held at Ezulwini yesterday.
Mvuselelo Fagutse explains some of his aspirations as the new chairman of Business Eswatini.
The biggest one, of course, is energy. You cannot grow an economy without energy. So there are a lot of conversations that we've been having internally with all the stakeholders, including government, on what we can do to energize our economy. There's now opportunities for cotton as well to come back and be grown at a large scale. The currently being developed dam is going to feed water into those new areas for irrigation.
The outgoing chairman of Business Eswatini, who served for about 7 years, Andrew Leroux, says even though the past years were turbulent, most businesses survived.
As tough as COVID was, and we know that many of us suffered personal losses, as a country we really excelled and we showed unity in coming out of COVID. One of the other highlights for me over the last 18 months is how we've restored law and order and peace and stability in the country. We all know the social unrest that we went through as a nation. It was very destabilizing, but what a pleasure now to be able to say that our country is back on a stable path.
The new chairman will serve for a duration of 3 years as per the organization's statutes. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbongwa Dube with Cindy Swazwane in Ezulwini.
Following an outcry from livestock farmers on deepening chemical shortage, the Director for Veterinary Services in the Ministry of Agriculture, Xolani Dlamini, says the Kingdom has addressed all issues pertaining to procurement of these drugs. Hence, farmers should relax since distribution of these drugs will commence in the next few days.
Veterinary Director in the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Xolani Dlamini, explains the reasons which led to the shortage of livestock dipping chemical in the country.
The supply for the year, for the financial year 2022-2023 has now been finished. And we are procuring with the budget that is available for 2023-24. So, and procurement of dipping chemicals is a process. It does take a bit of time because we go through the tender system, the government tender system.
Dlamini promises livestock farmers that chemicals will be delivered shortly across the country.
We hope that in the next few weeks we should have a supply of dipping chemicals accordingly. I thank you.
Deep tanks play a crucial role in ensuring that livestock is prevented and cured from external parasites. For Eswatini TV, I'm Pendulo Kumbi with Cindy Swazwane and Mbongwa Dube Mbabane.
On international news, on the second day of Azerbaijan's so-called anti-terrorist operation, which is in Nagorno-Karabakh, both Armenia and Azerbaijan agreed to cease fire. Russia says its peacekeepers, who have been evacuating residents from Karabakh, will help implement the ceasefire.
Explosions were still reverberating around the city earlier on Wednesday, the second day of Azerbaijan's so-called anti-terrorist operation against Nagorno-Karabakh.
I was lucky to survive. If you could see what was happening here, everything was covered in smoke.
But then came news of the ceasefire, which had been agreed by both sides. In a statement, ethnic Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh said that with the mediation of the Russian peacekeeping contingent, an agreement was reached on the complete cessation of hostilities from 1 p.m. on September 20th. They also said they'd accepted a proposal for talks the following day on the Azerbaijani demand to integrate the breakaway region. They said they had no choice but to do so because the world had stood by while Azerbaijan had broken through their lines. Azerbaijan, which accuses Armenia of having forces in Nagorno-Karabakh, also confirmed the agreement.
The units of the Armenian armed forces located in the Karabakh region of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the illegal Armenian armed groups will lay down their weapons and leave their combat positions.
Russia says its peacekeepers, who have been evacuating residents from Karabakh, will help implement the ceasefire. Local officials say dozens of people have been killed in Azerbaijan's operation, which began on Tuesday after blaming separatists in the region for killing some of its troops. The escalation had raised concerns that a full-scale war could resume between Azerbaijan and Armenia over the region, which is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but largely populated by ethnic Armenians. The Armenian Prime Minister again denied that Armenia had troops in the enclave and said that Armenia had no hand in drafting the ceasefire agreement, which would appear to pave the way for Azerbaijan to take full control of Nagorno-Karabakh after more than 3 decades of struggle over the mountainous territory.
Russia and the United States called for an end to fighting in the breakaway Nagorno-Karabakh region of Azerbaijan after the launch of a military operation against separatist forces.
Calling for calm from both sides, Moscow, which has a 2,000-strong peacekeeping mission in Nagorno-Karabakh, expressed its concern over the fighting in the breakaway region.
We are deeply worried about sharp escalation of the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. Russia strongly encourages the conflicting sides to stop the bloodshed.
Turkey, which has close ties to Azerbaijan, has expressed support for the offensive in Nagorno-Karabakh. At the UN General Assembly, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was clear about his stance.
We support the steps taken by Azerbaijan, where we act with the motto of one state, two nations to protect its territorial integrity.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, meanwhile, has urged Azerbaijan to halt its operation immediately.
These actions are worsening an already dire humanitarian situation in Nagorno-Karabakh and undermine prospects for peace.
France has also been critical of Baku. French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna described the operation as illegal, unjustifiable and unacceptable.
I would like to emphasize that we hold Azerbaijan responsible for the fate of Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh.
Paris has called for the UN Security Council to meet on the crisis, which comes as leaders attend the UN General Assembly in New York.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a wartime trip to the United Nations, urged the world to stand firm against Russia's genocide as he tried to convince skeptical developing nations that they share a stake in Kyiv's victory.
Weaponizing food, energy and children. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday accused Russia of finding novel ways to wage war, from disrupting exports of grain, occupying the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, to kidnapping thousands of Ukrainian children and deporting them to Russia.
Those children in Russia are taught to hate Ukraine, and all ties with their families are broken. And this is clearly a genocide.
It was Zelensky's first in-person appearance at the UN General Assembly since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine last year. US President Joe Biden also pushed for the world to rally around Kyiv.
Russia alone has the power to end this war immediately. And it's Russia alone that stands in the way of peace, because Russia's price for peace is Ukraine's capitulation.
This as efforts to convince the global south to condemn the war in Ukraine once again stalled.
It is a grave indictment on this international community that we can spend so much money on war, but we cannot support action that needs to be taken to meet the basic needs of billions of people in the world.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa warned that as the conflict rages on, the African continent must face a crisis not of its own making, as the West's carbon emissions trigger global warming.
Can I start now?
In our sports roundup, the women's national team, Sitsebe Samhlekazi, has lost the first leg encounter of the Women's African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Now, Sitsebe were defeated by Burkina Faso by 3-2 at the Somhlolo National Stadium. The second leg will be played in Ivory Coast next week, Tuesday. That marks the end of our English news this morning. Let's go for a quick ad break. We return with our communications officer, Nomcebo, right after the break.
Bongosi egameni lelibandla letelkhetho nemingcele tinkundla ngingusihlalo walo libandla sihlanganyela nesive malangeni lamahle kuhalalisela ingwenyama inkosi yethu inkosi Mswati wesithathu minyakeni lamashumi lasihlanu nakuhlanu kanye nelive longana kundiphethe wethu ukuthi lo lingana nabo netinsuku tengwenyama letingu 55 nananathi sisive seMaswati sina leminyaka ilengu 55 sesikhululekile ngandiphethe. Siyabonga ke bongosi sisahalalisele emakhosi ethu nelive ukuthi nebayitolo lekungibona lesithite basebenta lelive makhosi ayitolo nesive seMaswati sonke sayitolo ngoba lokhu lesesifike lamhla siyasakukhanza lesikuhalaliselako ngilokuqhamuka kibo lekumbita-ke ukuthi-ke nathi simaswati njengekukhonjwa indlela makhosi nkosi yelive sichubekeni silibeke live libe ngiloko lekungona lesikukhanzile nathi nalokungcono. Maswati silibandla lelikhethwe nemingcele sisahalalisele makhosi nelive ngandiphethe sijinga siphinze futhi siwabongele makhosi ngemsebenzi losetulo eve welikhetho sisitengcile tigaba tokuqala lebesikito nyalo ke sekuseleke sigaba lesisisetulo ke lokungisona sona ke lesisitawu siniketa iParliament yethu isinikete futhi emabandla enkundla lokuba ubuchopho ke lobakhiwa induna tetinkundla lokungibona bosihlalo bese ke nabo ubuchopho bemiphakathi benkundla labakha lobuchopho lelibandla lenkundla lokungilona lelisebenzisana kanye neParliament nahulumende welive leMaswati wonkana. Bongosi emalanga umuntu akandlulise lokuthi umhla ka-26 we-special voting bese ulandzela ke umhla ka-29 September walolukhetho lelukhulu lukhetho lwesibili lesongilona loluyi-final. Ngalawo magama amalangeni sikhutha lwandle sibongele live lebongosi bayethe wena waphakathi wena ungangezindaba Bose.
Right, it's 34 minutes after 7. Kwelo muhla siphinze sikwamukele ehlelweni. Kunengcenye ke yababukeli bemsakazo wetitfombe Eswatini TV lababe nemibuto itolo. Ngithi ingcenye ngemabomo. But we do have Nomcebo Malinga. She's our communications officer. She will respond to some of these questions labe khona esukwini la itolo. Kulandzela ukuthi kube ngathi a blackout kancane and some of babukeli bemsakazo wetitfombe. Nomcebo, a very good morning to you. Some questions from some of our viewers. Yes. Please respond to that because, first of all, I think the first question would be, le blackout ibangelwe yini?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, on the show, and it's a very good morning to the viewers at home. Unfortunately, yes, we did have a blackout yesterday. We were off air. And this was due to technical issues that we experienced, which were caused by a storm that took place at Ksandi. If you will remember, Ksandi, where kwaba nemoya ebusuku lomkhulu, leyo moya leyo wabe so affect some of the equipment that we use ukuthi kutholakale le signal lele khona ku send sithombe emakhaya. Mangi ngakutshela nje maybe just to clarify, labaningi abantu babone ukuthi lokho asimtholi Eswatini TV ingabe kwende njani bashayela vele straight ka TV ukuthi ke angemboni TV ngishaya kumangayani ngishaya kamanzini lokho umcoka lo besifuna kokuveta namuhla lapha kwele interview yethu ukuthi kusakada kwethu sisakada through EDTT. EDTT imele digital terrestrial transmission.
Okay.
And Leo entity layer is under the Ministry of ICT.
Okay.
Leo EDTT, Leo wing that has the technical equipment and the network that is used to send a signal lesithombe ukuthi singene emakhaya phinza basende nema signals la ngena ku radio uma ungakhumbula nje ukuthi nyalo kunabo ESCom na EDTT. We are all under that big umbrella. So ke lokho kulimala ke le equipment disturb ngase storm lesendekile kutsandi kube sese affecta ke leyo network le network le bangela ukuthi ke khona kuthola sithombe emakhaya bagijimile ke itolo i-team yethu bahamba babona ukuthi ngabe bangayilungisa kanjani babamisene nayo iICT na ESCom in trying to curb the situation because for a whole institution like us having a blackout or being off air even for a minute, that for us is it's an urgent matter. It's critical. It should not be happening. But due to technical reasons, caused by natural causes, and go back beyond as vele sikos affectile kancane, and just funa kwendlulisa lokuxolisa kakhulu with the public and to our viewers, for lokuthi sibe on air itolo. Siyathi ukuthi babakhona babukela ngoba mangabe nje yakhumbula sibe off air from the morning, I think about 7, and it was rectified by about 4 p.m. itolo. So nje kucela nje ukuthi sibe sichubeke sisibambise uma ngabe uhleti ekhaya uyabona ukuthi Thombe kumbe awusitholi chubeka ukuthi usithinte ka TV sitawukhona ukuthi ke sizame kokusita noma sikuchazele lokuthi ke njengoba kunenkinga yini lokwendeka ukuthi is it your area or kumbe vele sekunako lokwendeke even lonke jikelele lokuthi vele kube nenkinga leka DTT.
You'll correct me Nomcebo. I think from what you're saying I'm picking up ukuthi laba be disturbed ngilabasebenzisa njinja, but transmission yethu lokaliza ukuthi itfolakala ku YouTube yona na DSTV bakhonile labo kuchubeka babukela. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
The transmission was not affected. It's the broadcast part of it that was affected. Lapho khona bayithola vele ku our traditional media lena le channel yethu like Eswatini TV, but we also do have a channel. Eswatini TV is also on the multi-choice bouquet with channel 286. Sikona on the channel. So Emma viewers la subscribe ka multi-choice in the country, they were able to watch Eswatini TV. It was available, as well as we also have a YouTube channel. So nalaba back social media, they were not affected. They were able to view the content yet for okubukela stage.
Awesome. So what we're getting today, ngitfologcina ekutheni lomuhla siyabukela nathi thina babonjinja mina nje ngite YouTube ngite naloko kwesingisibo multi choice multi ngite naloko nangile endubaza shiselweni ngiyakhona namhla ukuthi tfola tindzaba nga1 ngiyakhona kufana letinye tinhlelo during the day. I'm rest assured ukuthi everything is seamless now, it's smooth.
Rest assured, everything is seamless, everything is smooth. We just want to say thank you to the technical team. Nalokubambisana nje really kwa ICT na ICCOM na baba parts be stage imbala bagijimile sibabona physically actually running up and down njengoba wathi ukuthi DTT bomakhelwane uze nje uma uphuma la gedeni nabala ngendance so vele ibe khona vele liba busy lokuthi vele we had to make sure lokuthi emaswati akagonyobeki noma abe atikaza ukuthi asetingingeni the inconvenienced for a long period. So siyajabula nje lokusho ukuthi vele namuhla everything is back to normal from last night actually. And I would also like to just thank the loyal viewers labakhona who were very concerned and picked up the phone, and some of them wrote on social media which say we are not we are born. What's going on? So for us, that's also another yardstick that we use. Because we've got people that are watching for us. That's important.
Nomcebo, thank you so much for your time. Back Tanza wena babukeli beSwatini TV sibonile ubapha bonjinja lapha trade fair labo mabona ukuthi siyaxolisa kubo ke labo labawina labo bonjinja labo namuhla basebenta kamnanzi nalo lawina mabona ukuthi siyathemba ukuthi yakhona kusibukela bazi. Nomcebo Malinga usichazela nje kabanti ukuthi lo muhla sithombe uyasithola sinhle seamless kude nje tinkinga leti khona sitawahlola emarket masinyane sitabuya sichubene ihlelo.
This weekend is Eswatini, your official weekend party starter. Tune in for the best of entertainment. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send your shout-outs. Be sure to catch our movie segment where we review and give updates on all latest movies. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. You know the vibes, it's the beat down. The time is 8 p.m. It's time for you to relax. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the music videos that I got for you.
Moving no direction, like it's a calling. Been alive in the middle of nowhere. Shake the ground and burn the air. So yeah, you don't have to hold back for anything or anyone.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nawe losanza kusivulela solo bukela hlelo Kusile Breakfast Show sikufuna kukhuluma indaba about maternal and child health nenhlangano lebitwa ngokuthi Siphilile Maternal and Child Health. It is a community-based non-governmental organization that seeks to improve maternal and child health, targeting jebomake labakhulelwe kanye nabantwana labaneminyaka lesuka ku-0 kuya ku-5 years in 5 constituencies esifundzeni Isaka Manzini. I'm joined by the program manager Jabuliso Lukhele. Uchazela kabani nje ukuthi ingabe vele mhlambe nabavakashela leti ndzawo leti letehlukahlukene lifaya ikhatsi kwaluseni lucelutse kalobamba kuba yini vele tinkinga labatikhandzako letibhekene nabo bomake labakhulelwe kanye nabo bantfwana. Sifuna kuva nje nema objectives ayo lenhlangano yokuthi ngitiphi tikhala labatibona lapha emimangweni kuze basukumise lolu hlelo lolubalekile nakangaka. Sikuvusele Njabu, thank you for coming. I think umsebenzi lo ncomekako lona leni mendako kube nje kafishane nje kusingeta sithombise ukuthi ningusiphilile organization ni inhlangano le kanjani nisita abamfuna banganjani.
Siyabonga kakhulu Lolo, thank you for having me today. Singusiphilile njengoba sowushido ukuthi sisebenza kuleti basically kaManzini kulama constituencies lo sowashido lo 5. Bomake kube nelicalingo leliba khona ephambilini lapho khona khanzekala ukuthi bomake during kubeleka bayashona o bashonela abantwana. Base kuyabuketwa ukuthi ke ngabe yini isizathu. That's when lapho khona ke Siphilile soyasukuma kanye nelihlelo la kahulumende ukuthi ke wo ngendeka ukuthi kude le information kahle labanayo lemakhaya. So singusiphilile sasiyasukuma nathi sathi ke asihambeni sile emakhaya singena door to door sikhulumise bomake ukuthi ke ucala nini kuya eclinic make yini imphawu lofuna uticaphele nawe kuze utawuphuma nawe nemfana nephephile.
Okay, ngaba mhlambe be nanifikele komake benikhanza bathi nje vele mhlambe nanixoxisana nabo bacala nini lokho eclinic kuba yinto ingatabo mhlambe nabe bayadelaya kuba yini lokudelaya kubangwa yini lokudelaya nje indlela mhlambe leniye nikhanza nisakhulumisana nabo.
Okay, siye sikhuthade thina ukuthi immediately if nangabe nje vele odikhanza ukuthi so you feel like noma so pregnant siye sithi shesha uye emtholampilo. Ema fears abo ke ngiko lokuthi ke kumbe ke kudulile kunjani kepha sithi nesigcizelelako kunempilo lesicophelelweni nema danger signs ukuthi uma ungasheshi uye khona lena emtholampilo so taba setengotini wena sekuthi maybe so lahlekelwa ngumphana lo metfele ngalokuthi awukakhoni kwatiseka kabantu ngoba esibhedlela sinabunesi labaceceshiwe labatakutshela ukuthi wo make nasolana naku lo milisale ugwenda. Yes, I think those are the issues, and also maybe nabo ngoba nama signs nakabona nje ukuthi ke hangitethele but sekukhona lokuphuma kolengasa understand kahle ayedvana ngeke azakhone so ngiko la sithi khona ke shesha uphuthume uhambe uye emtholampilo.
Okay, njengoba ushido nje njabuke ukuthi vele nisebenzisana nelitiko letempilo kakhulu and kuba khona vele mhlambe ama research leni wendako nani ezinisa nisende umsebenzi wenu nikhanze ukuthi linganani vele lelizinga labomake lokhanze ukuthi sebalahlekelwa abantu ababo mhlambe basesebathwele eswini noma mabasababeleka.
Ngiyabonga nawubuka emuva lelizinga selehlile because now the mothers are being educated at the ground. Yes, that's what they do, our mentors going door to door. Nyalo nje based na safika nje ngoba siphilile wadala 2012 selehle kakhulu lelizinga because nyalo sebayade sebanayo nale knowledge that which is very improvement naso ubuka la sesikhona khona manje.
Okay, so njengoba sishito ukuthi nibuke only the Manzini region for now, perhaps mhlawumbe kukhona ama gaps leniwabonile as an organization lokuthi I think sifuna ukuva nje zafuse ukuthi why nikhethe the Manzini region, particularly those areas lokufaya khathi labo kwaluseni lobamba naletinye tendzawo ngitiphi letikhalele natibona kuleto tendzawo leto.
Okay, sibonile ukuthi bantu bayasuka ekhaya batofuna imisebenzi la and nasi buka kahle vele state setfu labantu laba banengi kakhona kakhulu kukhona la kamanzini it's a high volume populated vele so sathi ke asisingene khona kucala akusho ukuthi siyafuna kugcina sifisile ukuchubeka siyeke naletinye tindzawo because nakhona nabo bayalidzinga lelisito sibuke nje ukuthi la kucalwe khona ukuthi it's the high population lapha khona because people they come they look for jobs they stay around those places.
Okay, because it's not only the maternal health, it's also the child health nalokuthi nasekambelekile ke lo mfana bukhona nje mhlambe lobudlelwane lokumnakekela nje as a mother uyamunyisa yini kahle uyamikisa in form of vaccinations ingabe mhlambe niyabalandelela indlela nifike kulesigaba leso and what are your findings nje nibona nikhanza ini manisa kwenda lokho?
Ngiyabonga kakhulu yes njengoba usho ukuthi siyamlanzelela make nemfana until the child is 5 years old nasimlanzelela siyamkhutsata especially in the first 6 months kwekuthi make akamunyise umfana ilibele exclusive breastfeeding. And then after those 6 months ke tabe soyakhona ke kuqala kumbhicela siphinze sikhuthade nekuthi phela make hlola umfana kaye emtholampilo ayo halanzelela immunization yakhe so basically what singusiphile lesifike sikwende sina naba labahamba ko sithi ma mentor mothers what they do because a clinic awuyi every month. But they come to you, they bring the service to you at the door almost every day, whereby mentor mother afike akukalele umfana wakho uthi ngabe ukhula kahle yini akutshele ukuthi ke umfana wakho kuze akhule kahle nathi tindvo lafuna atidle ngaloso sikhathi leso akubukele ukuthi vele lo mfana wakho imigomo uyayilandzela yini lama immunization uyakhona yini ukulandzela yini uma akhona la kufanda la kuthola loku amiss uvele athi make phuthuma esibhedlela umfana akasiyelo kahle. Remember ukuthi our aim is to give the education, especially health education kubomake ekhaya because it's not every day lapho khona atabana noma abenale access akhona kuye clinic so we are there on the ground to give those information.
So you're bringing the services to them.
Yes, emakhaya. Yeah. The only thing that we don't do are sending vaccinations and all that. What we do, we refer to the nearest facility lekhona lesebenzisana nawo in the areas talk about in the 5 constituencies.
Okay, so do you also talk to them about HIV and AIDS because now it's one of the critical issues lapha eveni njengoba wathi nje ukuthi vele siphokophele ekutheni vele sigcine sincobile igciwane HIV and AIDS niyabakhulumisa yini ngalethi indzaba leto ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi as a pregnant woman kubalekile ukuthi vele uhamba uyowenza test yakho mabuthi khanze ukuthi positive uthathe treatment immediately ngabe vele mhlambe bayabona yini lobo mcoka abekwenda lokho?
Yes, bakubona bomcoka babo because once they get the background lokuthi what are the dangers if I don't get tested in time kuta affecteka lo mfana and nas affecteka lo mfana kutaba buhlungu na umake sobona umfana wakho asa natha emaphilisi ezinawe unatha emaphilisi so they get bayithathela advice bahambe baya emtholampilo and what it's good about it is siyasebenzisana nalama facilities whereby when I said I have referred someone for testing bakhona vele ukuthi amendise noma bayende kube priority especially nje nakato wenda the first visit akhone ku now ku testela for HIV.
Okay, so there are situations lapho kwanza khona ukuthi make sobelekile and she had been bonding with her child tonke letinyanga letingaka and then bese sokhanza ukuthi sobeleka mhlambe umfana lokhubatekile and somehow it disturbs her ukuthi umfana mkhubatekile noma ushoda ngani. Do you also offer that kind of support mhlambe nibakhulumise nibatholele psychiatrist abakhulumisa nje ukuthi it's okay umfana wakho lona usengamniketa lithambo lobongamniketa umfana mhlambe lesithi akakhubateki? Do you also find niyabhekana nale demo lama situations kanjalo?
Yes, siyabhekana nato because sine as case ukuthi umfana uphume anjani. We accommodate everyone, which is very important. Luckily enough, our mentors are trained enough to give that support. And also we work with partners as a sebenzi in isolation. We work with partners where Nago come and assist us. There's a child look at son. How can we join hands together?
Okay, and there are also cases of mothers abandoning their children. From 0 to 5. Akhona ama instances la ukhanze ukuthi naye lo make naye uba ne mental breakdown, a lot of stresses, so dikhanze vele sekathwele kamedima. Niyakhona nibasida nalabo bamphana labo naye lo mntana.
Yes, it's a one of our objectives ukuthi make angamneglect umphana. And then try to find the issues. What are the issues behind as a neglected? We usually see this especially kuma daycare centers. I'm sure magi on a Friday, yozomlanza on a Monday. Yes. So si naloko siya kukhulumisa kakhulu sihlale phasi ukuthi mage these are akusiko kahle. Kuyamlimata nemfana actually ekukhuleni kwakhe because thina sithi nje sinakele umfana. When you're talking about umfana ukhuluma ngelikusasa lelihle. When you're neglecting the child, what are you it doesn't have a good outcome at the end. But siyakhona ukukhulumisa esibambisane kakhulu nebaka emaphoyiseni nje, that they do support us kakhulu in kuleto tindzaba leto. We collaborate very well with them.
Okay, kuma sesingasemaphethelweni nje sifuna ukuva njabo involvement yalabo babe because now they play a major role in their bringing noma mhlawumbe during the pregnancy stage samake baba khona yini as kungilesinye izafo sekuthi khanze ukuthi bomake nabo sebaba nale mental breakdown ngokuthi mhlambe baba mfana somshiyile nivame ukubakhulumisa kanjani kuleto tindzaba nje nasibuka involvement yabo bobaba.
That's a very good question. Recently, we did a pilot of a male engagement guma communities, which was successfully. Lapho khona besibida the males and basho nam, and they didn't actually. Okay, bebang at they play a huge role. Actually, they need to be there. And we had a good response whereby we actually reached about 623 males around Manzini, talking about maternal issues and their roles and how they can make a better family, especially for the child, because it's not about them. That's a corner the third person. It's about the child. Yethu ukuthi sifuna kubona make nemfana kusasa bakhulile babe even lonke babe nje labakhulile, because we are saying we are raising a good generation, so it has lo babe naye unaye I role. So I think now kuyinto lemcoka ukuthi babe abe khona empilweni, and they did understood their role actually, and we are looking ukuthi vele sichubeke sihambe sebakhulumise bobabe ngako lama maternal issues.
Okay, kugcina ngabe labo make labathi ngalisitweni bathola kanjani noma bona banithola kanjani noma umuntu ofuna kumikisa make lothi ngalisito?
Okay, njengoba bese sishito ukuthi getsine sitholakala in the 5 constituencies, uyababona bomake bakhona bomake labahambako bagcoke ikipa letihlata tibhaliwe siphilile. Li office lethu uyalithola lapha kumathapha eKwaluseni behind Kwaluseni Mpra. Even luckily enough ungeta nangemgcibelo eManzini Country Club to know more about us.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much Njabo sibonga kakhulu. Bukele sothi vele ukuthi unangabe mhlambe khona make lo matiko lothi ngalisito lo hlobo idinzabe nje tekunakekela umfana wakhe noma tekunaka kwana naye nje sasekhulele kubalekile ukuthi achumane nayo inhlangano utata uthola lisito kutaqinisekisa ukuthi umfana lo sesiswini kumake noma lo sanza kubelekwa uphephile ukhula kahle ahlobile ngedempila sibahlota makethe sitabe stovala hlelo.
Umsakato wetithombe Eswatini TV ehlangothini lebetindzaba umengemumo ngalesihlanu mhla tingemashumi lamabili nemfica kulesetulu isaselitalo msakato titabe tisachitsisaka kutototine tifundza telive leSwatini totonke tikhungo tekuvotela tikuletsela konke lokutabe kwenteka elikhethweni elikhulu. Kanti-ke indzaba itabe icale mhla tingemashumi lamabili nesithupha kulesetulu esigabeni la kutabe kuvota khona labo labaniketwe imvumo yekuvota esigabeni lesithi special voting.
Kusukela ngesimbi yesikhombisa ekseni kude kuphume yona imiphumela libandla letindzaba litawube lifake likhala phansi licubungula liphindze libuya nato tinjengobe tinjalo likulethela bukhoma kumabonakudze wakho nasetinkundleni tekuchumana. Leti tindzaba telukhetfo lolukhulu lwa 2023 singete sasala nakwakhiwa live letfu.
Alright, kusele nje imizuzu lemithathu kuphela ukuthi sinivalelise sibongile ukuthi nibe nathi on the show today. Sithanda ukuthi futhi nikuthokodele kuba nathi because ngibonile inkulumo yengonyama nkosazana Sithafu nayikhuluma khona emhlanganweni waka UN General Assembly. Usachubeka ke umhlangano namhlanje lebhekile ukuthi tindzaba titeko ngitota ka health sifisa solo tachubeka tindzaba teku takhulumisa indzaba ye TB, indzaba ye COVID nendzaba nje ekucinisa donate tempilo emhlabeni wonke jikelele.
Yeah, ngibonile lo ukuthi part of the delegation that's there, some of the cutaways when the king was speaking there at the United Nations General Assembly, saw the principal secretary of the Ministry of Health, Babekhanya Mabuza, sitting right next to the Minister for Health, Mage Lizingosi. So they will be there as well. It's very important knowledge sharing and cross-pollination of information. But we are now lapagangwane bathuthukise live lethu ikakhulu ehlangothini lwetempilo njengoba ke cishe ngisosicubulo lonyaka kuyo General Assembly. Just 2 minutes, in fact just a minute before bumbane insimbi yesiphohlongo. That marks the end of our program for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. Have yourself a great day.
Letelukhetfo nemingcele Elections and Boundaries Commission bathi sasive kutsi kuvota ngalokukhetsekile special voting kutawuba mhla tingemashumi lamabili nesithupha kulesetulu 26 September 2023. Kanti lukhetfo lolukhulu lona lutawubanjwa mhla tingemashumi lamabili nemfica kulesetulu 29 September 2023. Ngete ngasala nasakha live letfu.